Boeing confirmed late on Monday night that it will upgrade software for all 737 MAX 8 aircraft shortly after the FAA announced that it will ask for changes in the design of the model by April. Boeing didn't make any express correlation between this software update and the crash of a 737 MAX 8 aircraft on Sunday. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed shortly after takeoff from Addis Ababa on Sunday, killing all 157 people on board who were en route to Nairobi, Kenya. The crash comes only 5 months after the same model Lion Air jet crashed in Indonesia, killing 189 people.
It's always more than one. It's never one thing. It's always a multiple combination of factors that lead to a catastrophic accident like this. And so that is what we can expect. Multiple factors.
Boeing explained that after the previous plane crash of this type of aircraft, which belonged to Lion Air in Indonesia in October, an improvement in software checks was developed for the 737 MAX so that the model would become even safer. The company said the software upgrade for the entire fleet would take place within the coming weeks.
Iran's president is calling for new talks with Washington, provided the U.S. ends its maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian regime. President Trump shooting down that request, tweeting out, "Iran wanted me to lift the sanctions imposed on them in order to meet. I said, of course, no."
You know, Iran, I can't remember the last time they won a war, but they're pretty good at negotiating. And what they want to do is, through nuclear blackmail and, as General Keane noted, gradually escalating kinetic strikes against us and our allies in the Persian Gulf, to induce us to eliminate the one piece of leverage we have, which are those sanctions crippling Iran's economy, and eventually, we hope, driving Iran back to the negotiating table. Iran says that, sure, they'll address the issue of sunset clauses and their ballistic missile program and the fact that they're a state sponsor of terror. Maybe that's out there, too, is something we could talk about. But we need to eliminate the sanctions first.
Now we start with news that an oil tanker exploded this morning in Korea's southeastern port city of Ulsan, sparking a huge fire that injured 9 people. Authorities say all 25 foreign crew members of the 25,000-ton tanker that was bringing in petroleum from the Cayman Islands were all rescued within a couple of hours of the blast that occurred at 10:51 a.m. Korea time. Of the injured, 1 person was seriously hurt, and firefighters are still attempting to extinguish the blaze. Maritime police are also checking the scene to see whether there were any unidentified crew members on board. Once the fire is under control, officials will attempt to figure out what caused the tanker to explode.
So breaking news as we go to air this hour, Yemen's Houthi rebels say thousands of Saudi troops have surrendered after a cross-border military campaign. They say they targeted the southern Saudi region of Najran and captured several army officers and weapons. Of course, the Saudi-UAE coalition in Yemen has been fighting the Houthis for more than 4 years now.
Thousands of the enemy forces have been captured as prisoners. Others were killed. From among the prisoners is a large number of high-ranking officers and soldiers from the Saudi citizenship. More than 72 hours from the launch of the operation, our forces laid a total siege to the enemy forces, around totally 3 brigades, along with 1 regiment of the Saudi forces.
A march in the heart of Mexico City to mark 5 years since 43 students went missing. The victims are believed to have been abducted by gang members affiliated with corrupt security forces. The case has turned into a symbol of impunity in Mexico, but despite the outrage, their families are still waiting for answers. A small group of protesters vandalized shops, hotels, and monuments. The violence was limited, but the frustration is widespread. Under the previous administration, 142 suspects were arrested. From that group, 53 were released when it was revealed they had confessed while being tortured. No one has been convicted for the students' disappearance, and prosecutors are looking into new leads. But in a country that had more than 30,000 killings last year, the process can be daunting.
All right, Chinese scientists have unveiled a so-called super camera that is 5 times more detailed than the human eye and is equipped with AI, facial recognition, real-time monitoring, and cloud computing technology. Now, this 500 megapixel system can identify human faces instantly, even in a crowded sports stadium.
But what's really interesting about this, of course, is that the camera itself, set aside the privacy, we can talk about that in a minute, but just the camera itself would require such an immense amount of space within it, and the cloud computing systems would have to be so massive to be able to store all these images and to be able to instantly recognize, because remember, you're talking about a highly advanced photo image, which has, the more clear that image is, the larger the image is, therefore the more space it takes. So it would have to be a massive cloud computing system to be able to store all these images in such detail that this camera would work, but it is not inconceivable by any means, because the Chinese obviously have massive databases holding images of their citizens.
Twelve-year-old sixth grader Amari Allen is healing after she says 3 white male classmates at Emmanuel Christian School in Springfield, Virginia, targeted and attacked her because of her hair.
I was about to go down one of the slides when 3 boys came up to me, surrounded me, and they put me on the ground. One of them put my hands behind my back, one put their hands over my mouth, and one cut my hair.
The alleged attack on school grounds was both physical and verbal.
They were saying, my hair was ugly, it was nappy. They were saying that I don't deserve to live, I shouldn't have been born.
The back of it was in the middle of her back, and they cut all of these.
Her grandmother says she was targeted for being different. The school told CNN in a statement, "We take seriously the emotional and physical well-being of all of our students and have a zero-tolerance policy for any kind of bullying or abuse."
Dry, dusty and parched. Desert sand is slowly taking over once fertile fields in Somalia. Just 2 years after the last drought ended, the country is again facing one of the driest rainy seasons in more than 3 decades. The victims are visible almost everywhere. Makeshift camps like this one for those affected by drought can be found in almost every city. This is Baidoa in southwest Somalia. These people have just arrived from the countryside. Hareda Edin builds a hut for her family from old clothes. She says it took them a month to get here.
Our cattle died first, and then the crops failed. We fled hunger, but it still follows us. We have had no help since we arrived here.
No safety precautions. Ja, ganz gut. Halt,